As soon as I sat down on the empty chair, I felt a presence behind me. The air grew tense, and a faint sound of footsteps crept closer. Before I could even look back, Anna seized a heavy vase and, without warning, smashed it onto my head. A sharp, blinding pain surged through me, and everything around me faded, leaving only the sharp sting of betrayal. My name is Lisa, and up until recently, I thought my life was fairly predictable, even comfortably simple. At 30 years old, I work as an event planner in Seattle, a city that I've come to love for its vibrant energy and close-knit feel. I have a younger brother, Mark, and for as long as I can remember, it's been just the two of us. We grew up side by side, inseparable, and shared a bond I thought no one could ever disrupt. Mark, now 27, is a software developer, and we both live in Seattle, close enough to share dinners and family gatherings often. Life was peaceful, filled with little joys and familiar routines, until Mark met Anna. When he first introduced her at a family dinner, I could see why he was so taken with her. Anna was captivating, tall, charismatic, and confident, with a smile that seemed to light up the room. At first, I thought she would become a new friend, someone to join our close family circle. In the beginning, Anna seemed perfect. She was engaging and appeared to genuinely care for Mark. I was happy for him. He deserved someone special, and I wanted to welcome her into the family. But over the next few months, small, subtle changes in her behavior began to leave me feeling uneasy. At first, Anna's comments seemed harmless, almost like jokes. When we were alone, she'd say things that, on the surface, could be brushed off as playful, but they held a sting. At family gatherings, she would make remarks like, "Lisa, maybe it's time to change up your style. That dress is so last season." She'd laugh, but the look in her eyes was far from friendly. I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe I was reading too much into things, but her words lingered, cutting a little deeper each time. During one Thanksgiving, I brought a pie made from a cherished family recipe. I'd spent hours perfecting it, feeling proud as I placed it on the table. Anna, however, quickly commented, "I thought I was supposed to bring dessert this year." Her tone was casual, but her words stung. I forced a smile and replied, "Must have slipped my mind," even as I felt the humiliation settle in. It wasn't just about the pie. It was her way of asserting control, and it was starting to work. Her remarks became sharper and more personal. Once, while we were at dinner, she looked at me with a sly smile and said, "Still single, Lisa? Maybe dating would help with your personality." She laughed it off as a joke, but it felt like a slap in the face. I tried to laugh along, but inside I was hurt. I even brought it up with Mark once, hoping he'd see how much her words were affecting me, but he dismissed it, saying, "Anna's just teasing, Lisa. Don't take it personally." Not wanting to create tension, I stayed quiet, hoping things would improve. Instead, things worsened. Anna started excluding me from family plans and even deleted messages that Mark sent me. It was as if she wanted to erase me from his life altogether. Feeling alone, I confided in my best friend, Jack, during a coffee date. "Something feels wrong about Anna," I admitted. "It's like she's trying to push me out of Mark's life." Jack looked at me with concern and said, "Maybe she's just awkward around you." I shook my head, explaining, "No, it's more than that. She makes these subtle jabs that make me feel small, but I don't want to create tension for Mark." Jack's understanding gave me some comfort, but I still felt paralyzed, torn between keeping the peace and protecting my relationship with Mark. I decided to stay silent, even as I felt my role in our family slipping away. Everything came to a head on Mark's next birthday. The evening was supposed to be a joyful celebration, but tension was brewing beneath the surface. I walked into the living room, scanning for an open seat, and found one near the front. Just as I settled in, Anna walked over, her expression darkening as she noticed me in what must have been her chair. She fixed me with a hard stare and snapped, "That's my seat." Caught off guard, I blinked, trying to process her sudden hostility. "I didn't know it was saved," I replied, keeping my tone light. But Anna's irritation only deepened. "You should know by now," she said, her voice dripping with anger. The room grew silent as everyone's attention turned toward us. My heart pounded, and I attempted to diffuse the situation. "It's just a chair, Anna. Let's not make a scene." But she wasn't having it. Standing tall, she narrowed her eyes and said, "You're always trying to steal my spotlight, Lisa. You take everything from me." Her words felt like a punch to the gut. "I'm not trying to take anything," I managed, my voice barely above a whisper, struggling to keep my composure. "I just wanted a seat." Without warning, Anna's anger escalated. She grabbed a large vase lying nearby, and, before I could react, slammed it hard against my head. The impact sent a sharp, blinding pain through my skull, and I staggered, my vision blurring as the room swayed around me. Gasps echoed through the room, but all I could focus on was the searing pain and the shock of Anna's sudden violence. Mark rushed over, but instead of addressing Anna's actions, he turned to me, telling me I owed her an apology for causing the scene. Fury and disbelief flooded me. Here I was, with Anna's assault fresh on my mind, and my own brother couldn't see what she had done. I refused to apologize, holding my ground even as the pain throbbed. That night, I promised myself things would change. Anna had crossed a line, and I wouldn't let her continue manipulating Mark and isolating me from my own family. The night I left Mark's birthday party felt like a breaking point. My head still ached from Anna's attack, but the emotional pain of Mark's betrayal cut even deeper. I felt humiliated, hurt, and as if my place in my own family was being erased by someone who had no right to it. That night, I called Jack, my best friend. She'd always been there for me, but I knew this would be hard to share. "Jack, I need help," I said, my voice trembling. "Anna hit me tonight, in front of everyone." I struggled to keep my voice steady, recounting the event. "And Mark, he told me to apologize to her. It's like he's blind to what she's doing." Jack listened quietly, then said, "Lisa, this isn't just her being rude. Anna is trying to take control, to push you out of Mark's life." Her words hit me hard, and I realized she was right. Anna wasn't just petty or jealous. She was trying to replace me entirely, and Mark was falling right into her trap. "I know," I whispered, the words barely coming out, "but I don't know how to make him see it. He's so wrapped up in her." "Then it's time to fight back," Jack said, her voice firm. "Remember, I'm a lawyer. You're not alone in this. We can find out who Anna really is, see if there's anything in her past that would make Mark understand what kind of person she is." For the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Jack was right. I didn't have to face this alone. Within days, Jack connected me with a private investigator she knew, someone discreet who could dig into Anna's history. Although I felt nervous, I knew it was my best chance to reveal the truth and protect my relationship with Mark. It didn't take long for the investigator to uncover disturbing details about Anna's past. Behind her polished exterior was a history of manipulative relationships, rumors of cheating, and even legal troubles, including a few restraining orders from former partners. The truth was shocking, but it confirmed what I had feared. Anna was skilled at deception, and Mark was just her latest target. I knew I had to show Mark everything. Despite my fears that he might still take her side, I gathered all the evidence, printed every document, and prepared to meet with him, hoping this would be enough to make him see the truth. The next day, I called Mark, asking him to meet me in a quiet park near my apartment. When he arrived, he seemed cheerful, unaware of the bombshell I was about to drop. I could see, though, that something about him had changed. There was a distant look in his eyes, as if he was living in a world where Anna was everything, and I was barely a part of his life. "Mark, we need to talk," I began, trying to steady my voice. "It's about Anna." He looked at me, concerned, and I felt my grip tighten on the folder of evidence in my hands. "I've looked into her past, and you need to know who she really is." His expression shifted, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "What are you talking about, Lisa?" he asked, his voice laced with both confusion and irritation. "Anna wouldn't do anything to hurt us." Silently, I handed him the folder. My hands trembled as he opened it, his eyes scanning the documents. Each page seemed to drain the color from his face. Photos, restraining orders, messages, and police records all painted a picture of Anna he had never imagined. With every page he flipped, I could see the painful realization sinking in. Finally, he looked up at me, devastated. I had no idea," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "How could I have been so blind?" He looked away, the weight of betrayal evident on his face. "I didn't want to hurt you by bringing this up," I said, my voice soft but resolute. "But Anna has been manipulating you, Mark. She's tried to destroy our family, and I couldn't just sit back and let it happen." For a long moment, he was silent, grappling with the painful reality in front of him. "I don't know what to say," he murmured, his voice filled with a mixture of anger, sadness, and disbelief. "I didn't see any of this. Now you do," I replied firmly. "It's time to take action, Mark. You deserve a life that isn't built on lies." Slowly, he nodded, his gaze hardening. "You're right," he said, his voice gaining strength. "This has to end. I need to confront her." I could see the resolve forming in his expression, the determination to free himself from Anna's control. The following days were tense as Mark prepared himself to confront Anna. I could see how much it weighed on him. The love he once felt for her was now tainted by betrayal, and it was clear he was struggling to process the truth. Finally, after several sleepless nights, Mark called me and asked to meet. I could tell by his voice that something had happened. When we met, Mark looked exhausted, his face pale, and his eyes rimmed with dark circles. "I confronted Anna," he said, his voice shaky, "and she didn't deny any of it." A chill ran down my spine as I listened. "What did she say?" I asked, bracing myself. "She told me I was the problem," he replied bitterly. "That you were trying to destroy us, that I was weak for listening to you. She twisted everything, trying to make it sound like I was the one tearing us apart." His hands shook as he recounted her manipulation, and I could see the hurt in his eyes. I reached out, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Mark, she's been manipulating you this whole time. You deserve better than that." He nodded, his face filled with determination. "You're right. I've made up my mind. I can't let this go on. She needs to be held accountable for what she's done." With my support, Mark decided to take action. He filed for divorce and prepared to bring Anna's actions to light. Armed with the evidence we had gathered, he reached out to the authorities, ready to expose her lies and deceit. The police took his claims seriously, especially with the documented evidence of her past legal troubles and manipulations. A few days later, the police arrived at Anna's apartment to take her into custody. I watched from a distance as she was escorted out in handcuffs, her face a mixture of shock, anger, and desperation. She tried to protest her innocence, but the evidence was undeniable. Her history of manipulation and deceit had finally caught up with her. Anna faced charges related to her fraudulent actions, manipulation, and the emotional harm she caused to our family and others she had deceived in the past. The court proceedings were difficult, but with each hearing, Mark grew stronger, finding a sense of closure in knowing that justice was being served. In the end, Anna was sentenced to 3 years in prison, a fitting punishment for the chaos and pain she had caused in our lives. Watching her be held accountable brought a mix of emotions, relief, sadness, and even a touch of regret for how things had turned out. But I knew this was the only way to protect our family. With Anna behind bars, a new chapter began for Mark and me. The storm she had stirred in our lives had finally settled, leaving us to pick up the pieces. It wasn't easy. The scars of her manipulation and betrayal lingered, and it would take time for both of us to heal. but for the first time in months, I felt like I had my brother back. Mark and I spent a lot of time together, talking through the events that had shaken our family. Each conversation helped us to rebuild the trust that had been tested by Anna's actions. I could see a shift in Mark. He was beginning to let go of the anger and guilt he had carried. Slowly but surely, he was moving forward, no longer held back by the lies he had once believed. One evening, we sat together in my apartment, watching the sun dip below the Seattle skyline. The city lights began to twinkle outside, casting a peaceful glow over the room. After a quiet moment, Mark turned to me, his face softened by a rare sense of calm. "Lisa, I don't know how I could have been so blind," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry for everything, for doubting you, for letting her get between us." I placed a reassuring hand on his. "You're here now, Mark. That's all that matters. We got through it together." As the weeks passed, our bond grew stronger than ever. Mark's life was slowly returning to normal, and he began focusing on his work and personal growth, determined to leave Anna's shadow behind. I, too, felt a renewed sense of peace. The ordeal had taught me the importance of standing up for myself and protecting the people I loved. In time, Mark filed for divorce, and the legal proceedings moved forward smoothly, thanks to the overwhelming evidence against Anna. The court upheld the decision, and her prison sentence ensured she would face the consequences of her actions. Knowing that justice had been served allowed us to close that painful chapter. Months later, with Anna's influence completely gone, Mark and I found a new sense of normalcy. We both emerged from the experience stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The journey had been painful, but it brought us closer together, solidifying the bond that Anna had tried so hard to break. As we looked to the future, we knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. Our family, once fractured, was healing. The road ahead would have its ups and downs, but we were ready for it, confident that we could overcome anything life threw our way. And as I watched the city lights shimmering outside that evening, I felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that we had come through the storm stronger and more united. Our story wasn't over. It was just beginning, filled with hope and the promise of better days. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more gripping tales. Your support helps us bring you even more thrilling stories, so make sure to hit that notification bell to never miss an update. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.